The snow blinds him, white and endless, a cruel mirror that hides every threat. The wind screams like a predator across the jagged peaks, cutting through his thin coat and freezing his bones. Each step is a gamble. Each breath burns like fire in his lungs. Shadows move just beyond his sight, silent hunters slipping between ridges and ice. Watching, waiting. Behind him, the echoes of fallen men whisper through the storm, their rifles empty, their voices gone. One wrong move, one faltering step into the frozen trap, and he will vanish without a trace. Survival is not hope, it is precision, memory, and sheer, relentless will. He is alone. 80 men entered this mountain pass. Only he remains, a novice, and nobody in the eyes of the veterans, and yet he moves with a precision they never had. The terrain is etched into his mind like a map burned into memory. He knows every ridge, every dip, every hidden crevice in the snow. It is the only advantage between life and death. The storm roars, obscuring everything, but in his mind, the path is clear. Shots crack through the blizzard. The air vibrates with distant explosions. Bodies are scattered, frozen and silent. He cannot stop. He cannot hide forever. Somewhere beyond the white chaos lies survival or nothing at all. And yet, he presses forward, driven by something more than fear, a memory so vivid it feels like instinct. Before we dive into this story, make sure to hit subscribe, leave a like, and comment below. Could you survive in a frozen battlefield like this? It is the 1950s. 80 soldiers march into a remote mountain pass blanketed in snow, tasked with holding a strategic point that could turn the tide of the conflict. The air is sharp and biting, each gust of wind threatening to knock a man off balance. For most, this mission feels impossible before it even begins. Among them is a young recruit, thin and inexperienced, overlooked by his peers, yet something sets him apart. The mountain looms like a silent predator, every ridge and crevice a potential death trap. Frost cracks beneath boots, and the snow conceals dangers both natural and human. The enemy is out there, somewhere beyond sight, moving as silently as the wind itself. And as the first shadows of the assault stretch across the wide expanse, the young soldier realizes that survival will demand more than courage. It will demand a memory sharp enough to navigate the frozen maze, and a will that refuses to break. The first signs appear almost imperceptibly. A broken branch here, a faint disturbance in the snow there. Most soldiers pass by without noticing, their attention fixed on the distant peaks and the wide expanse ahead. But he sees it patterns that others cannot read. Every ridge, every crevice, every snowdrift is a map in his mind. The novice knows the paths that could hide them, the angles from which an enemy might strike. A sudden crack echoes across the pass. The soldiers freeze, rifles raised, scanning the blinding landscape. Shadows flicker along the edges of the mountains, moving faster than the snow allows. Panic surges, men shout, movements become chaotic. The enemy strikes, appearing from nowhere and vanishing just as quickly. Confusion spreads like wildfire, but he moves with precision, stepping exactly where the snow will not betray him. A fellow soldier stumbles and falls into a hidden crevice, disappearing with only a muffled cry. Others turn, trying to regroup, but the terrain itself works against them. Snow drifts pile into pots, hiding their positions. The wind roars in their ears, masking the sound of footsteps and distant gunfire. The mountain is alive, and it hunts without mercy. He notices a ridge that offers temporary cover, a hidden path that could buy them time. He tries to direct a small group, but they dismiss his guidance, ignoring the patterns he has memorized. Shots ring out again, and men fall, their bodies swallowed by snow. The young recruit keeps moving, dodging, ducking, weaving between rocks that are etched in his memory as clearly as if he had carved them himself. Time stretches, each moment a battle between instinct and the chaos of the storm. He sees the enemy's position shift, invisible to everyone else. His mind calculates pots, angles, escape routes all in silence. One wrong step could end him, but he does not hesitate. Survival is already a calculation, a map drawn in the snow of his mind, and he is the only one following it perfectly. The snowstorm thickens, swallowing the pass in white oblivion. Visibility drops to a few meters, and the soldiers struggle to stay together. Every movement is slower, every breath heavier. Footsteps vanish behind drifting snow. and the sound of rifles cracking echoes. Disorienting more than it warns, the unit begins to fracture, small groups separating unintentionally, lost in the frozen chaos. The enemy strikes again, silent and precise. Men fall without a sound except the muted thump against frozen ground. Panic spreads, voices shouting orders that cannot be heard over the wind. Some soldiers hesitate, unsure where to go, while others charge blindly, disappearing into the snow. Amid the chaos, the novice moves with calm determination. His mind traces the contours of the terrain, guiding him in a few who notice, weaving paths that avoid ambushes only he can predict. Bodies litter the snow, some half buried by drifts, faces frozen in shock. Hypothermia claims men faster than gunfire, their shouts turning to weak, rasping cries. Attempts to regroup fail. As confusion multiplies, the wind carries debris, the scent of blood, each gust making survival a cruel gamble. The novice directs the hesitant soldiers to small, concealed positions, whispering instructions they barely comprehend. Few obey, most still frozen in disbelief, unable to trust a boy who has never seen battle before. Yet each instruction he gives keeps someone alive for a few more heartbeats. Minutes stretch into an eternity. The enemy seems everywhere and nowhere, moving with the snow as their camouflage. The young recruit anticipates shifts in the attack, positioning himself and those who followed just beyond detection. His memory of every dip, ridge, and hollow is the only map of safety in the chaos. By the time the storm eases slightly, the unit has been decimated. Men lie scattered across the pass, broken and silent. Only a handful remain, and the novice knows that continuing to rely on the group will cost him his life. Survival now depends on his mind, his memory, and his will to keep moving forward when everyone else has fallen. The sun weakly pierces the clouds, casting a pale light over a battlefield transformed into white chaos. The few survivors huddle behind snowdrifts, frozen and trembling, too disoriented to notice the movements around them. The novice scans the pass, calculating trajectories, studying the shifting ridges and hidden hollows as if the mountain itself were speaking to him. Every detail matters: the slope of ice, the pattern of shadows, the subtle cracks that betray a hidden crevice. He moves silently along the edge of the pass, keeping low, observing enemy positions from a distance. A patrol emerges from behind a ridge, rifles ready, their breath visible in the frigid air. Most of the remaining soldiers fail to see them. Fear roots them to the snow. The novice anticipates the patrol's path and guides a couple of men to a safer position, whispering directions that only he can calculate with confidence. Though he has never been in battle before, never fired a rifle with skill, he has become essential. The soldiers rely on him not for combat, but for knowledge of the terrain. Every ridge, hollow, and snowdrift is etched in his memory. Paths that could lead to safety or doom are clear to him alone. In this frozen wilderness, his astonishing memory is more valuable than experience or weaponry. The enemy is methodical, testing for weaknesses, moving in ghostly silence between the snowdrifts. One of the remaining soldiers panics, revealing their position with a single shout. The novice reacts instantly, pulling the man down, using the terrain to shield them from fire. Every action is precise, deliberate. He understands the snow can betray them as easily as it conceals them, and he moves like the mountain itself, calm, patient, deadly. Hours stretch like eternity. The few remaining soldiers are fragmented and exhausted. The patrol finally moves on, leaving the survivors isolated. The novice watches them scatter, realizing that sooner or later, the responsibility will fall entirely on him. His memory is the only map of survival, the only certainty in a battlefield designed to confuse and kill. In this frozen expanse, skill with a rifle matters less than knowledge, and the novice, with his perfect memory of every path, every slope, every crevice, holds the key to life. The battlefield is silent except for the wind tearing across the pass. Snow swirls around him, hiding every threat and revealing none. He is completely alone now. One soldier slipped on hidden ice and tumbled into a jagged crevice, disappearing into the frozen void before anyone could reach him. Another was caught in a sniper's crossfire, a single shot piercing through the blizzard, leaving only a lifeless body behind a snowdrift. A third was surrounded by enemy patrols, forced to fight desperately and overwhelmed, dragged into the shadows where the snow swallowed him whole. Each loss happened within moments, swift and brutal, leaving no time for mourning. The novice feels the weight of every fallen comrade pressing on him, but there is no time for grief. Every ridge, hollow, and ice-crested crevice is alive in his mind, guiding him, whispering paths of survival that no one else could see. Shadows move in the distance, enemy patrols testing the empty stretches. He fires sparingly, unskilled but accurate enough when guided by instinct. Each shot counts, every movement is calculated, using the terrain to his advantage. Hours pass as a tense dance of survival. Fatigue gnaws at him, but his memory refuses to fail. He retraces paths, avoids traps, and evades ambushes that claimed his comrades. Rocks, hidden crevices, and snowdrifts are markers in his mind, a lifeline to navigate the lethal landscape. He observes every ridge where men fell, every hollow where bullets found their marks, knowing that a single misstep would cost him as it did them. At last, the enemy begins to withdraw, assuming the battlefield is clear. The novice does not pursue. He knows the cost would be fatal. Alone, he retraces his steps with precision, every detail memorized, guiding him safely back to friendly lines. Emerging from the snow, battered but alive, he arrives at the command post. His story is almost unbelievable. 80 men entered the pass, and he survived while witnessing how each of the rest met their end, not by skill with a rifle, but through perfect memory, relentless will, and an intimate understanding of the mountain that claimed so many. The commander listens, disbelief etched across his face, as the novice recounts the battle, the positions of enemies, and the paths that saved him. Every detail is precise, every moment relived. His survival is proof that sometimes knowledge and perception outweigh experience and weaponry in the theater of war. If this story gripped you, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and comment below. Could you survive in a frozen battlefield like this?